Good morning, everyone. EagleX from ATX EagleX Gaming here today, and I have today's Market Watch for the 3rd. I'm going to be going over some stuff I think is noteworthy and things to look out for. If you enjoy this content, I really would appreciate it if you can like, comment, subscribe. And if you make it to the end of the video, I do have my giveaways from the first online tournament I had. It was a lot of fun, and I want to say thanks to everyone for coming out to that. So we're going to go ahead and move right along. Booster boxes, we see 1.0 boxes have been going up. They're at like almost the 150 price range. If you guys remember when the game first came out, these boxes hit like upwards of like $200 if I recall correctly. And we're right around that same point again. The supply is really low on these. And demand for the staples are still rising up. Like the Digimons are, and they're still, that's a big hit as just an SR. But if we look at the bottom end, Classic Collection, EX1, I just want to point out, there are some things that are kind of noteworthy to get here. And we're just talking staples, like rares. EX1 VMon's roughly $4. Analog Youth is roughly $3. And you'll average like one of these per box, so it's like $7 roughly of like that 40 buy-in. And then nothing else is like really high dollar that isn't an SR or an alt art, which you do get at least like 1 or 2 alt arts per box, or 2 alt arts per box and a secret. Machinedramon's like a solid $15. Then most of the other alt arts are roughly 10s, just because they've all kind of, they're a bit older and they're a bit harder to, not find, but to get from the set that nobody really wants to open, so that they maintain a little bit of value that way. But that's like EX1. Just some thoughts and considerations for if it's worth cracking open a box at this point. It's close to it. I wouldn't say it's there, just a little bit lower, and it actually would be. But next, I want to talk about trophy cards. So this was from our Evo Cups all the way back in 2021 of June. I think the month before also was an Evo Cup, or the 2 months prior to it. But we got the Koromon here. This is one a lot of people are playing this set for Black or Gray for the draw and just for a max rarity egg. And right here in the tab next to it, I have the Ultimate Cup pricing. Seeing the Demi V cheaper than the Koromon, I think is actually, like, it makes a bit of sense because this is older and less supply. Maybe at the time. But like these Demi Vs, they're 4-ofs in Imperial, and that's a strong tier 1 deck this format. So I would have expected this one to be a bit higher. And Jamming V, he is a 4-of in a lot of decks in armor, and he's in some Imperials, not as a 4-of, but still a very strong card. It's like, I'm just trying to make the parallels here, and he sees a lot more play than Agumon. The art looks great, so like, it checks out with me. And you compare the Greymon all the way over to that XV. XV sees exponentially more play. It's just a better card. So if you're trying to go for max rarity and you really want to go all the way out, these trophy cards aren't bad pickups at all. But just be aware, the prices will probably dip around the next time we have an Ultimate Cup, so it could get a bit lower still. Now, I want to bring up to your guys' attention, if you guys remember, Tournament Pack 1, when the game first came out, these were some of the hardest cards to find, and they were super high dollar. Like Diaboromon was like $80 at that time. These Caramons were like 30 a piece. And that's just because they're so hard to find. Demi-Devimons are like 35 a piece. Well, we haven't seen a reprint of anything besides the Diaboromon from the set in quite a while. However, recently, the EX3 gift box was announced, and they said there will be a reprint of that Diaboromon from TP1. Not the Judge one, but this one. And like a new alt art, along with like 3 other cards. If I had to guess, it's probably going to be the other 3 Diaboromon line cards. Fingers crossed at least, as these are... The Caramon's pretty relevant to building Diaboromon. But if it's not him, Demi-Devimon would be something I would hope for, as he's the most relevant of these niche promo cards from TP1. And if he's not getting a reprint there, these are just cards to look out for. Like, if you don't have them, it might be worth scooping up just to have a playset. And because they're doing like that reprint of Diaboromon, it gives me some reason to believe there will be some type of Diaboromon support If you don't have Eratus, it's not a bad time to scoop these up, or even on like a similar tangent Armageddonmon also, as he's probably dirt cheap, probably like a quarter. Yeah, he's roughly a quarter. So if you don't have them, it's probably not a bad time to scoop these up. And next, I want to talk about just like the format right now. Right now, I have our eggs from the format pulled up. We're going to do by best selling, which shows what's being bought the most and what people are looking for. Blue and yellow and purple are the three main colors of format. Purple being Mass Day and BL Star. Blue being Armor and Imperial decks. And yellow being Rapid decks. Then you do have the Digimon down here for XAntibody. Noopa's not far behind. If you're looking at building these decks, you will need the eggs. And Oopas have been going up really quickly. Like, I've been selling sets for $60 of these eggs. So if you're trying to get these, just be aware. He doesn't have a reprint coming out anytime soon. He does have that max rarity one from the 1 year topper. It's almost worth just picking these up for their price difference. And then Kupimon is a very notable rare. You can't check out with this one in TCG player, but he's like a $3 to $5 rare really now. This one should be good to check out with, but it's not long till he skyrockets. He's from BT Old, which just means 1.0, 1.5, shorter print sets. They're pricier staples because of that. And why am I bringing this up? Well, it's because the format's like adapting and shifting a lot. Now, here I have an XAntibody list. This recently performed well in Europe in their regional. It is almost capped out at like 512 people, if I recall correctly. And cards I want to point out here in the list. Breath of the Gods. This rare has started to make a big impact into black decks as it prevents bouncing effects. So it's anti-imperial for that. It doesn't let you get DP reduced, which is anti-yellow. And then, I've mentioned this before. So first, Breath of the Gods. This card, it's been popping off, guys. You can't just look at the low. You gotta take shipping into account. And it's roughly a $2 card because of that. If you don't have Breath of the Gods or you have extras, definitely a good time to move them. Especially if you don't play black. Because that immunity from being returned to owner's hand or deck is really big. I mentioned this before, though. You guys remember when I told you Dorumon's at a quarter? Something worth looking at based on Japan prices? Well, this card is roughly $3 now. Gotta look at shipping into consideration. It's like $3-4. If you guys don't have any, make sure you get them. If you don't need them, you get rid of them probably around next set when XAntibody is tier 1, like the deck to beat. And if you guys notice, this Melga, give it a quick refresh. You can't check out with this lowest one, but he's like a $7 to $8 card. If you guys are looking at doing Metal Gururu Jagras decks, it's definitely a card you'll need for it, as he's the boss monster of the deck. But he also will see some play when he gets his XAntibody in the upcoming BT9 set. So just something to keep in your eyes on. And I talk about Vmons a lot. Vmon is a big staple card this format. Jamming Vs are up to $16 a piece. EX1 Vs are $4 a piece. Starter Vs, $4 a piece. And those are like your most played ones aside from the commons and the starter deck ones. Oh, hey, look, they finally got the picture for the pre-release one here. $33. It's a very fair scoop compared to what other high-dollar PR cards were. Anyways, Vmons, I talk about them. Let's move on. Rapidmons. This card has surprised me for its price for a new set SR. It is a very strong tier 1 deck, but I'm not sure if I would justify buying them at $15 if I didn't buy a box. Like, I buy my cases, so I rip open most of my cards, but that's ridiculous for an SR. If you don't have it, like, you will have to buy it, assuming you're not cracking boxes. Like, it's just so hard for me to justify a $15 SR from the new set. But with the IRL events, with a new set that has a fresh breath air people are excited for, and if you guys didn't know, there was a small bump on the price of distro boxes for LGSs in stores. It does justify a bit of a price increase, but I would never expect it to be this much and to be cheaper during pre-sales for this card. Just a little point I wanted to bring up. And then Susano, he goes with these yellow rapid hybrid decks, and seeing his regular R at $30 compared to his $37 max rarity, definitely something I would look at scooping if you don't have it, because this card has longevity. Yellow hybrid never really truly dies. You'll see it's still played into like the BT10 format in some capacity, but Altart Susano is definitely a long-term hold if you had one. And then I want to bring up Memory Boost. I've talked about these a lot. They're great cards to hold on to. The Altarts, I think, are beautiful. But we can see, like, regular yellow Mem Boost is $2.50, basically $3 each. Red Mem Boost, basically $2. Then we got blue, purple, black, and green. All sub-$1, close to $1 though. These green ones are going to be the next yellow one. When Grandis Quagamon becomes relevant, this is a 4-of to help consistency in those decks. Just be aware of it. If you don't have these memory boosts, and you're kind of newer into the game, I would definitely recommend you pick up the Gallantmon and Ulforce starter decks, as you get one of each memory boost. You get 2 Vmons if you get the Ulforce one, 2 Guilmons, which are great for EX2 if you want to play Gallantmon. And not to mention, like, you have Hammer Sparks in the Ulforce deck, you have Lightning Joust in the Gallant deck. Those are very good staple cards. And considering you get them for $10, which is like a little bit below MSRP if I recall correctly, very solid pickups. Now, next deck I kind of want to talk about, we talked about Mastamon starter deck, and I'm not going to give it a whole lot of time, but we've seen lists before, and 2 cards that are definite 4-ofs in these lists are Magna Angemon and Lady Devimon. We've seen Lady Devi has been on an uptick lately. She was like $3 recently, and now she's going back up to closer to her $7 price. She is really relevant during that BT4 format with Melga, and she just always has been around since people realized her Digivolving effect is pretty crazy. That Magna Angemon, the best call target to get a free heal off of your Star Deck Mass Day call. It makes sense for his price to be high, especially being part of BT Old. Just really hurts if you're trying to get into game and build this deck, as it is a pricey staple that's kind of paywalling the deck. And if you guys haven't seen cards that also been going up that I'm trying to pinpoint a bit more, Yellow War Grays. He's roughly a $4 card at the moment. And my guess is this is for XAntibodies. When he gets his XAnti, the Yellow War Gray is one of the better ones. If you guys have a better idea for why he might be going up even more, let me know. But that's my best guess at the moment. And did you guys see Rust Tyrannomon's like $8? When's the last time you guys actually saw this card being played? $4, $5 shipping, yeah. For whatever reason, this card is worth like $10. Aside from being in BT Old, is there really a reason we expect him to go up? He's had support, but he hasn't had any results, so maybe it's a fun pet deck that people really enjoyed. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below on this one as well. Now, cards I kind of want to point out for next set. We talked about Beelzebub, we talked about Gallantmon, but the Mother D Reaper deck. This is a deck that is very flexible with different support cards. This one uses a black package, this one uses a yellow package. And one thing that's used in these builds are the Tamers, and then some removal and healing options. Final Zubagon Punch is like a really strong defensive card, but Onslaught's like that security bomb. So they're just things I kind of want to point out in TCG player. Like, if you're looking for Izzy's, he's not even $1. If you're looking for your Izzy Joes, they're up here, I think. Yeah, up here. They're like 50 cents. Definitely a good time to pick these up if you don't have them. If you want to play these D Reaper decks. Similar with the Yellow Tamers, TK Karis are roughly $1.50 each. And your Fixer, which probably wouldn't be TK, but Kari. She's new, she's an uncommon, she's nothing. There's things to look at, look into, and to go with it, the options. Wyverns are roughly $1. If you don't have them, you might want them for these decks. Similar with Javelin. That's one that could be played. Reinforce, Tactical Retreat. Because the whole idea with these decks is like you have a wall you build up. And when you're trying to stall for time, you want to make it punishing to be attacked in security, so you can finally go into the Reaper itself once you get all your pieces. And not to mention, like, you do have some healing effects through the Gatekeeper, so it's just kind of complementary to try healing these options into security. And lastly, I mentioned Beelzemon. Just want to look at some quick deck lists. But you'll see, like, the old Secret Beelzemon's like a 2 to 3 of in a lot of lists. And you will need the Impmons from the Warp From. So if you don't have your Impmons, I would definitely recommend you look at getting them. We see he's like a 3 of here as well. So Impmons, if you're going for base rarity, they're really doable. If you're looking for max rarity, now is the time to scoop up your alt arts from Double Diamond. And I would probably give it a moment on the Event Pack 2 ones. But you could also go for the Tamer card set one if you prefer that art over this one. And then Beelzemon himself, definitely a good time to scoop him up before the set comes out and people hype up his price. Now, if you guys were in my tournament last night, thank you so much for waiting. So what I did is I went through and I want to give everyone a chance to walk away with something, even if you didn't do well in the tournament. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to randomize this list 3 times, and then whoever's names are in the top 3 lists will get a raffle prize. I will message you guys on Discord. So I'm going to randomize this 3 times, like I said. Randomize number 1, number 2, and the third randomize. Margarita, Tang Brandon, and Solely Death. I will be messaging you guys as you guys have won a raffle prize. That being said, guys, if you enjoy this content, I could appreciate it if you could like, comment, subscribe. With that being said, take care, y'all.